Hello, welcome to Realside. For as long as I can remember, we have demonized carbon dioxide, and that its increasing levels in our atmosphere is, well, a bad thing. It's to blame partially for the warming of our climate and increasing ocean acidity, but personally, I'm not educated in this field enough to confidently talk about the relation between carbon dioxide and the climate. But today's topic is about a recent fascinating article published in Scientific Reports about an aerobic gram-positive bacterium called Bacillus megaterium that could capture carbon dioxide and convert it into calcium carbonate. Though mineral-forming bacteria is nothing new to scientists, it has applications in fields like civil engineering and biotechnology. For example, the formation of calcium carbonate. The formation of calcium carbonate with this bacteria involves the consumption of carbon dioxide and calcium, which is proven to be even more efficient than that seen in industry. These bacteria are classed as gram-positive bacilli, which means that they stain dark purple after being introduced to a biological dye. When you add a sort of biological dye to a slide of these bacteria, smeared out onto a slide, the bacterial cell walls actually consume the dye. So the dye takes advantage of the fact that the bacteria have two layers on their outer wall. That may not be a technical name for the bacterial walls themselves, but the crystals of this dye get stuck in the two layers, between the two layers of the bacteria, and then as you wash the layer of bacteria with water, the remaining dye washes away and the water doesn't access the two lipid bilayers of the bacteria. And so therefore the dye remains visible in the bacterial cell walls, so that when you view them under a microscope, you will see the bacteria. Otherwise, you just can't see bacteria without dye. So this particular bacteria, Bacillus megaterium, which is a mouthful to pronounce, are found in soils. Scientists reproduced this organism on culture plates rich in calcium chloride for this organism to reproduce calcium carbonate. They found that two metabolic pathways existed in this bacteria, and they were determined by the environmental conditions. The first being a pathway that involves an enzyme called urease that catalyzes the breakdown of urea into ammonia and carbon dioxide, increasing the pH, building up a negative charge on the surface of the cell of the bacteria, further increasing the attraction of positive calcium ions, forming the calcium carbonate precipitate in place. But a byproduct of this reaction in this pathway is ammonia. This byproduct can be a problem in industry, but there seems to be another metabolic pathway involved. In this paper, it states that the second part of the metabolic pathway involves injecting aqueous hydrated carbon dioxide into water, producing ionized carbonic acid. The presence of this carbonic acid activates the enzyme carbonic anhydrase, another pathway for the production of calcium carbonate, which attributed to at least 94% of the carbon dioxide originally absorbed by the bacteria, which is super efficient. Also, this bacteria avoids the production of ammonia. So 94% of the carbon dioxide absorbed by the organism gets converted into limestone. I guess any other metabolic pathway that produces the carbon dioxide. We're only left with 6% of the carbon dioxide created by the organism, and the rest is absorbed by it to create the calcium carbonate. Here is some footage of the results courtesy of Scientific Reports of these calcium carbonate deposits under an electron microscope at 3000 times mag. You can see these beautiful calcium carbonate crystals forming from Bacillus megaterium. These bacteria are forming mineral deposits. Here is a look at some under 5,000 times magnification. And finally, the crystals become more apparent under 8,000 times mag. This is not visible to the naked eye. So why use bacteria? Sea corals and sea shells are deposits of calcium carbonate, and beach sand, depending on where you live, is composed of this material. But these are invertebrates and mollusks, not bacteria. Bacteria may be more ethical to use than corals and some animals, and may be more easily genetically modified to the environment we want them in. Now, just to talk about some obvious things, limestone, or calcium carbonate, is a major ingredient in cement. If we look around, there are countless buildings. Imagine how much cement we would need to manufacture these buildings. Well, I'll just tell you, we need about 3 billion tonnes every year worth of concrete. The production of cement produces CO2. A chemical reaction takes place known as a calcination reaction. We have calcium carbonate heated to over 900 Celsius to form CO2 and calcium oxide. If you're not interested in maths, feel free to skip ahead. I thought it might be a bit of a fun exercise to try and estimate the amount of carbon dioxide we get solely from the manufacturing of concrete. I think it's a lot, and just take my calculations with a grain of salt. They are probably nowhere near practical. It's more of a theoretical estimation of the amount of carbon dioxide based on the manufacturing process. If we look at this table sourced from the Wikipedia article on cement, and we consider the Portland cement and the percentage of calcium oxide present in it, we can see that it makes up about 63% of the cement by mass. Remember that for every calcium oxide molecule produced, a carbon dioxide was also produced. So we take 3 billion times 63% divided by the formula weight of calcium oxide times the formula weight of carbon dioxide. We get about 1.48 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide emissions each year, if we assume that we just use Portland cement. It turns out that the production of cement actually contributes to about 8% of the carbon dioxide emissions globally. That is a fair bit. So I do believe it could benefit us to focus on research in these areas. This biotechnology could potentially benefit us if we throw more money at it. It's just a matter of ethics. In this paper that I've sourced some of the information from, there is a company actually involved in the study about building pilot reactors, which I don't really know too much about. But in a nutshell, it involves injecting the bacteria into crushed rock, which I assume is high in calcium, and this alongside the carbon dioxide must produce the limestone or the cement. That is my best guess. I haven't really researched too much into it, but I will provide a link to the article. Anyway, guys, that's a wrap on today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learnt something new. I will post some links in the description for you to source for the information that I've researched. The articles are very interesting. You can dive as deep as you want to onto the research that they're doing. So it's exponential. There's so much research they're doing. I know it's been a long time since I've posted, but I plan to do more this year, more producing and more science videos. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and welcome to Real Sci.